Picture this. You're at a, maybe like a dinner party or a really packed neighborhood coffee shop.
Oh, yeah. The worst.
Plates are clinking everywhere. The espresso machine is, hissing in the background. And there's just this low, chaotic roar of chatter just bouncing off the hard walls all around you.
It's a sensory nightmare.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you're leaning in, trying to listen to a friend sitting right across the tiny table from you, and suddenly it just hits you. You were working really, really hard just to single out their voice from all that background noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, it feels as though the volume on the rest of the world got cranked up to 10,
Right.
but the clarity on your friend's voice just completely dropped out.
Yeah, and it is an incredibly common experience. And frankly, it's a deeply isolating one,
Yeah, for sure.
We've all seen people just quietly check out of conversations in loud rooms because the effort required to participate just becomes too exhausting. And people often brush it off as, well, just a standard, unavoidable part of getting older.
Like it's just a given.
Exactly. They think, oh, my ears are just getting a bit tired, and they leave it at that.
But when you actually look at the biology of what is happening in moments like that, it is infinitely more complex and honestly way more fascinating than just your ears getting quote-unquote old.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is exactly what we're doing today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Today we're looking at a comprehensive compilation of research and this really in-depth article titled ECHOXEN Explained: What Causes Hearing Changes as We Age and What Can Be Done About It?
It's a great piece.
It really is. Our mission today is to figure out the surprising biological mechanics behind why our hearing changes, spoiler alert, not just getting older, and we'll explore the holistic strategies, including lifestyle changes and targeted nutritional formulas like ECHOXEN that can actually, support those mechanics.
Because the most crucial insight we can pull from this source material is that hearing is absolutely not a localized event.
Right.
It's not just about the ears acting in isolation. It is this incredibly intricate, full-body dance.
A full-body dance. I like that. Yeah, it involves the mechanical structures of your inner ear, yes, but it also heavily relies on your cardiovascular system, the way your cellular biology handles oxidative stress, and perhaps most surprisingly to a lot of people, the immense processing power of your brain itself.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to talk about protecting our hearing, we need to understand the mechanics.
Definitely. We need the foundation.
Yeah, we need to know the journey that sound takes and what exactly is breaking down along the way. So we can skip the basic anatomy of the outer ear and the eardrum.
Right, the stuff we learn in grade school.
Exactly. We know sound waves vibrate those tiny bones in the middle ear. Let's just jump straight to where the real heavy lifting happens, the inner ear, the cochlea.
Yes. That is where the mechanical reality of the outside world actually gets translated into the language of the brain.
Okay.
Inside the cochlea, you have these incredibly specialized sensory hair cells, and perched on top of them are these microscopic hair-like structures called stereocilia.
Stereocilia.
Right. And when a sound wave enters the inner ear, it creates a ripple in the fluid in there. And that ripple physically bends the stereocilia.
So it's pure mechanical force, like actual physical pushing.
It is. It's entirely mechanical at that stage. And that physical bending opens up these tiny little ion channels, which sparks an electrical signal that travels down the auditory nerve to your brain.
Wow.
But here is the critical, fundamental vulnerability we have to deal with here. Unlike a lot of other cells in the human body.
Like skin cells or whatever.
Exactly. Skin cells are constantly shedding and replacing themselves. But these delicate sensory hair cells in the human inner ear, they have a severely limited ability to regenerate once they're damaged.
So they don't grow back.
No. You're born with a certain number of them, and that is essentially your lifetime supply.
Man. Okay, so think of those stereocilia like a highly manicured, pristine lawn of specialized grass.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. So when normal, everyday sounds pass over them, it's like a gentle breeze or maybe a light footstep, the grass bends and then it just springs right back up. But over decades of being trampled by heavy foot traffic, and by that I mean the relentless bombardment of modern noise, the grass gets flattened.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't really grow back, it just stays flattened.
What's fascinating here is that people usually associate hearing damage with massive singular acoustic traumas.
Right, like an explosion.
Yeah, standing next to a huge speaker at a rock concert or a gunshot without ear protection. And yes, those events will absolutely act like a tractor driving over that grass and just tearing it all up.
Right.
But the source material points out a far more insidious culprit. It is the steady, relentless accumulation of moderate noise over decades.
I am immediately thinking about my own habits here.
Oh.
Because I used to mow the lawn with my earbuds in.
Oh, no!
Yes, and I would turn the volume up to maximum just so I could hear the music over the roar of the mower engine.
That is a double whammy for your ears.
I know. I shudder to think about the sheer mechanical force I was just unleashing on my cochlea back then.
Well, if you are listening to this deep dive on headphones right now, just take a second to consider your volume level, because the damage isn't always immediate or even obvious.
It sneaks up on you.
It really does. It's years of commuting and loud traffic. It's the blender in the kitchen, the power tools in the garage, the moderately high volume on your headphones day after day after day.
So it just adds up.
Exactly. Over decades, that daily mechanical stress causes the stereocilia to lose their rigidity. They become much less efficient at springing back.
But I want to push back on this a little bit, or at least, clarify the timeline here.
Sure.
Does this mean every single time a fire truck drives past me on the street, I am permanently flattening a patch of my grass? Like, are we doing irreparable damage every single day just by existing in a modern city?
Well, not necessarily every single time, provided your ears have time to recover.
Okay, recovery is key.
Right. The issue is chronic exposure without recovery. And the result of that chronic wear and tear is incredibly specific. You don't just wake up one day entirely deaf.
It's gradual.
Very gradual. The subtle things slip away first. The hair cells responsible for detecting higher frequencies, well, they're located at the base of the cochlea, which means they bear the brunt of all incoming sound waves.
They're right at the front door.
Exactly. So they wear out first.
Which explains why the sharp, crisp consonants in human speech, like the S, T, or F sounds, they start to sound muddy to people.
Yeah.
Because those are high-frequency sounds.
Yep. And without those crisp consonants, words start to bleed together.
Right.
Like the word cat sounds like hat or bat. The volume of the voice might still be totally loud enough, but the definition is just gone.
Wow.
That is the physical wear and tear reality happening from the outside in.
Which makes perfect mechanical sense. But reading through these sources, this next part really shifted my perspective.
Yeah.
Because mechanical wear and tear is apparently only half the battle.
It really is.
If we look microscopically at those flattened hair cells, we often find they aren't just bruised from the noise, they're actually starving from the inside out.
Yes.
Wait, if the hair cells are damaged mechanically by sound waves, how does, a poor diet or a bad cardio routine fit into this? Are they getting attacked from the inside too?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the internal physiological environment is just as crucial as the external noise environment.
Okay.
The inner ear requires a massive, continuous supply of oxygen and nutrients to maintain that electrical transduction we just talked about. And the structure responsible for this is called the stria vascularis.
Stria vascularis. Got it.
It is a dense network of capillaries that essentially acts as the battery pack for the inner ear.
And how do you keep a biological battery charged? Through blood flow, obviously.
Through pristine, robust blood flow, cardiovascular wellness and hearing health are inextricably linked.
That's so wild to think about.
It is. The tiny blood vessels in the inner ear are incredibly sensitive. As we age naturally, our vascular health can decline. But if you add in lifestyle factors, things like a sedentary routine, smoking, or a diet high in processed foods, you are actively degrading the microvascular health that your ear relies on.
It sounds like the nonia vascularis is basically a high-performance sports car engine.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you restrict the fuel line because of poor circulation, it just cannot generate the power those sensory cells need to function.
And keeping with your analogy, that engine produces exhaust. Because the inner ear has such a high metabolic rate, it is constantly working, constantly firing off electrical signals. It generates a massive amount of metabolic byproducts, specifically free radicals.
Okay, let's pause on free radicals for a second, because that is a buzzword that gets thrown around in wellness circles a lot. But the actual mechanism is rarely explained.
Oh.
Free radicals are essentially unstable molecules that are missing an electron. Right?
That's right.
So they go roaming around the body, violently stealing electrons from healthy cells just to stabilize themselves.
That is the exact mechanism. They attack the lipid membranes of healthy cells. Now, the body naturally produces antioxidants to neutralize these free radicals by offering up an electron and stopping the chain reaction.
Right.
But when free radicals accumulate faster than your body's antioxidant defenses can clear them out, you enter a state of oxidative stress.
So Think of oxidative stress like rust forming on the delicate microscopic hinges of the inner ear.
Yes, exactly like rust.
Because the cochlea is working so hard all the time, it generates a lot of that metabolic exhaust. If your system doesn't have the antioxidants available to flush that exhaust out, the cells literally begin to rust, stiffen, and eventually die.
And this ties directly back to your question about daily habits. Chronic psychological stress, for example, triggers inflammation and restricts blood vessels, lowering the fuel supply. And a poor diet fails to provide the antioxidants needed to fight the rust. So you have hair cells that are getting battered by external noise, while simultaneously being starved of oxygen and eaten away by oxidative stress from the inside.
Wait, so my daily stress levels at work and, my decision to skip my cardio routine are directly biologically impacting how well I will be able to hear my friends at a dinner party 10 years from now.
Yes, they absolutely are.
That is a very sobering thought. The ear does not exist in a vacuum. It relies on the vascular health of the entire body.
It is a profound systemic connection. But even if we assume the perfect scenario, like, let's say your mechanical ear structures are in flawless shape.
Okay, best case scenario.
Right. You always wore earplugs, your vascular system is delivering premium fuel, and the electrical signals are firing perfectly.
Sounds great.
Those signals still have to be decoded. And that brings us to the final, most complex pillar of hearing. We have to travel from the ear, up the auditory nerve, and into the brain.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because hearing is fundamentally a cognitive event.
It is.
The brain is the control center responsible for taking those raw electrical impulses and organizing them into recognizable language or music or, environmental alerts. It has to decide what is background noise and what is the voice of the person sitting across from you.
This is a vital distinction that often completely eludes standard hearing assessments.
Really?
Yeah, because the brain has to process the data. It has to utilize working memory to piece together sentences. And as we age, the brain's processing speed and its overall cognitive efficiency can shift.
So it's like having a top-of-the-line studio-quality microphone recording audio flawlessly, but the computer processing the audio file is running on a CPU from, 15 years ago.
That's a perfect analogy.
The hardware is fine, but the software is lagging. The computer is just struggling to render the heavy file in real time. So is it possible our physical ears are actually perfectly fine, but our brain is just getting slower at translating the incoming data?
It is highly probable for many people, and it's actually a major driving factor behind the most common complaint audiologists hear, which the source material highlights perfectly. People say, I can hear people talking, but I cannot clearly understand what they're saying.
Right. The volume is there, but the clarity is entirely missing.
Precisely. Because their hearing sensitivity, their sheer ability to detect the volume of a sound might be relatively intact.
Okay.
But the cognitive load required to filter out the clinking plates, the espresso machine, and the background chatter just to isolate a specific voice, it becomes overwhelming.
And if we factor in neuroplasticity, it gets even wilder.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if those high-frequency hair cells we talked about earlier are damaged and the brain stops receiving those crisp consonant sounds, it doesn't just leave that part of the auditory cortex sitting idle, does it?
It does not. The brain is ruthlessly efficient. If a sector of the auditory cortex isn't receiving input, the brain will reallocate those neural resources to other tasks, perhaps visual processing or other senses.
Wow. So when you're in that noisy coffee shop and you're trying to piece together a conversation missing half of its consonants, your brain has to work overtime.
Huge overtime.
It has to literally steal processing power from your working memory just to guess the words you missed from context clues.
Yes.
No wonder listening in a loud room feels so physically exhausting.
Yep.
You are maxing out your cognitive load. So keeping your mind sharp is quite literally a hearing protection strategy.
It is a non-negotiable part of the equation. The source emphasizes that staying mentally agile helps maintain the neural pathways responsible for auditory processing.
Makes total sense.
Activities that demand deep focus and challenge the mind, like reading complex material, learning a new language or a new skill, engaging in debates, or even actively listening to the individual instruments in a piece of complex music.
Yeah.
These are all ways to keep the brain's processing centers optimized for decoding sound.
Okay, so we have mapped out the entire biological battlefield here. We have the physical structures of the ear getting worn down by mechanical force. We have the vascular system struggling to deliver fuel and the constant fight against cellular rust from oxidative stress. And then we have the brain's processing speed and cognitive load to manage.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. Since hearing relies completely on all three of these pillars operating in harmony, how do we actively protect them all at once in our daily lives?
It requires a comprehensive, holistic lifestyle approach, and it begins with the most immediate intervention, protecting your ears from mechanical trauma.
The earplugs.
Exactly. We have to give the stereocilia a chance to recover. This means actively carrying earplugs if you know you will be at a loud venue or, using power tools.
Yeah.
It means strictly managing the volume on your personal devices. And crucially, it means taking quiet listening breaks throughout the day to let that cellular machinery just rest.
Stop walking on the grass so it has time to spring back up.
Perfect way to remember it. Next, we address the internal environment, the vascular health and oxidative stress pillars. This comes down to nutrition and cardiovascular maintenance. The source highlights prioritizing a diet extraordinarily rich in antioxidants. We are talking about foods like blueberries, dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, bell peppers, oranges, and tomatoes.
Because those are the foods that provide the spare electrons.
Exactly.
They are flooding the bloodstream with the compounds needed to neutralize the free radicals before they can rust the inner ear.
Yes, that's the goal.
And we support that delivery system by maintaining cardiovascular health with lean proteins, healthy fats, and regular physical activity to keep the heart pumping efficiently.
Which brings us to the specific role of targeted nutritional support, which the source discusses at length in relation to formulas like ECHOXEN. As our understanding of these interconnected biological systems deepens, a lot of people are looking for specialized ways to complement their dietary efforts.
So what does this all mean for you? I want to ask a really pointed question here, and I want to push back on the supplement industry as a whole because we constantly hear about quote-unquote magic pills that promise to fix everything overnight.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real issue.
Right. But the source material we are looking at is actually very grounded about this. A formula like ECHOXEN is entirely complementary, right? It is not going to suddenly cure profound deafness or magically regrow flattened hair cells or act as a substitute for seeing an audiologist.
I strongly agree with your skepticism, and it is a vital point to make. The source is very careful to emphasize that hearing support formulas are absolutely not medical treatments or miraculous cures.
Okay.
They're designed as proactive, targeted nutritional support. ECHOXEN, specifically, is a premium liquid formula that compiles plant extracts, vital vitamins, minerals, and amino acids.
The fact that it's a liquid format is an interesting detail, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Because a lot of people experience pill fatigue, or they simply have trouble absorbing nutrients efficiently from hard capsules. A liquid delivery system kind of bypasses a lot of that digestive breakdown process.
Convenience certainly aids consistency, which is, important for any nutritional regimen. But if we look at the biology we just discussed, the intent behind a formula like ECHOXEN makes complete logical sense.
How so?
Well, it's engineered to support healthy auditory function, hearing pathway wellness, and mental clarity by providing the exact raw materials the body needs.
It goes back to the rust analogy.
Yes.
If your inner ear is producing heavy metabolic exhaust, it needs a massive, continuous supply of antioxidants to neutralize it. So a formula like ECHOXEN is essentially an attempt to flood the bloodstream with those specific plant extracts and vitamins, acting as a countermeasure against that cellular rust and supporting the stria vascularis.
Precisely. It is about giving your physiological systems the specific tools they require to maintain the engine, clear the metabolic exhaust, and support the brain's processing pathways as you age.
Right.
But again, it is only one piece of a much larger, interconnected puzzle. The most effective way to maintain balance, mental clarity, and auditory health is that holistic lifestyle approach we mapped out.
You physically shield the ear from damaging noise, you eat a nutrient-dense diet and exercise to keep the blood flowing, you challenge your brain daily with cognitive tasks to keep the processor fast, and you consider targeted nutritional support formulas like ECHOXEN as an added proactive layer of defense for healthy aging.
Exactly. When you combine all of those strategies, you are addressing the issue from the outside in and from the inside out.
This has been such a fascinating journey. I mean, we started out at that noisy dinner party, frustrated by the overwhelming background chatter and feeling so isolated.
A very relatable feeling.
And now we know that those moments are not just a simple, dismissible matter of getting older. It is an incredibly intricate mix of mechanically worn-down hair cells in the cochlea, the efficiency of our microvascular blood flow, the microscopic battle against oxidative stress, and the heavy cognitive load placed on our brain's processing speeds.
It really highlights how deeply and beautifully interconnected the human body is. You just cannot treat one system while ignoring all the others.
And it reminds us why we should care about this deeply. Because preserving your hearing is not just about, like, passing a medical beep test in a soundproof booth.
No, not at all.
It is about preserving your connection to the physical world around you. It's about continuing to experience the nuance in the music you love, staying aware and safe in your environment, and most importantly, maintaining those effortless, meaningful connections with your loved ones without ever feeling isolated in a crowded room.
You know, if we think back to that crowded room and the immense effort the brain has to exert to decode all that noise, this actually raises an important question for you to mull over.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
We talked about how cognitive exercises like complex puzzles or learning new languages help maintain our brain's processing speed. Could the very act of active listening, intentionally forcing yourself to deeply focus on a single voice in a chaotic, noisy environment, rather than just tuning it out or giving up, could that struggle actually be a form of necessary physical therapy for your auditory pathway?
Oh, wow. Using the noisy room not as an annoyance, but as a deliberate workout for your brain's auditory processing centers.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that perspective. That is a brilliant thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your inner engines fueled, protect your ears out there, and we will catch you on the next one.